I'm 79 years old, and I'm going to tell you something that might make you angry. It might make you want to close this video and never come back. But I need you to hear it anyway, because I wish someone had told me this 4 years ago, before I made the worst mistake of my late life. Never accept a boyfriend after 65. Now, before you dismiss me as some bitter old woman, let me tell you my story. Because I wasn't bitter, I was hopeful. And that hope nearly destroyed everything I had built. My name is Eleanor. Most people call me Ellie. I spent 42 years married to a man named Robert. We raised 3 children together in a small house in Michigan, the kind of house where the kitchen always smelled like something baking, and the back door never quite closed right. Robert died in 2019, 3 days after our 42nd anniversary. Pancreatic cancer. From diagnosis to death, it was 11 weeks. 11 weeks to say goodbye to a lifetime. For 2 years after Robert died, I did what widows do. I learned to sleep in the middle of the bed. I learned to cook for one, which I never quite mastered because I always made too much. I learned to talk to his photograph when the house got too quiet, which was every single evening around 7 o'clock, when we used to watch Jeopardy together. I was lonely, yes, but I was surviving. I had my garden. I had my book club. I had my grandchildren who visited on Sundays. I had built something resembling peace. And then I met Harold. Harold was 74, a retired accountant with silver hair and kind eyes. We met at a grief support group at the Presbyterian Church. He had lost his wife to Alzheimer's 2 years before, and he understood the particular loneliness of watching someone you love disappear while they're still breathing. We started talking after meetings. Then we started getting coffee. Then dinner. And somewhere along the way, I started feeling something I thought I had buried with Robert. Here's the thing you need to understand. When you're 75 and someone makes you laugh again, it feels like a miracle. When someone reaches across the table and holds your hand, and your skin remembers what it feels like to be touched with tenderness, you think you've been given a second chance. I thought God was rewarding me for surviving those 2 terrible years alone. But I was wrong. The first sign came 3 months in. Hal started making comments about my house. Small things at first. Wouldn't it be easier if I moved somewhere smaller? Wasn't it a lot of work to maintain that garden? Didn't I get tired of climbing those stairs every night? I told myself he was being considerate, caring even. Then he started talking about money. He had made some bad investments, he said. His pension wasn't what he had expected. He was worried about his future. And I, like a fool, I started worrying about his future too. Because that's what women of my generation were taught to do. We worry, we nurture, we fix. By the time I realized what was happening, Harold had borrowed $37,000 from me. $37,000 that Robert and I had saved over 4 decades of careful living. Money I had set aside for my grandchildren's education. Money that was supposed to carry me through my final years with dignity. He never paid back a penny. And here's the part that still makes me sick to my stomach. It wasn't the money that hurt the most. It was the realization that I had been so desperate for companionship that I had ignored every warning sign. My daughter had tried to tell me. She had done research on Harold, found out he had been through 2 other relationships since his wife died, both with widows, both ending badly. I didn't listen. I told her she didn't understand. I told her I deserved happiness. And I did deserve happiness. That's not the lesson. The lesson is that at our age, happiness cannot come from another person. It has to come from within, from the life you've already built, from the peace you've cultivated in your own heart. Because when you're lonely and vulnerable and grieving, you become a target. And there are people in this world, people who look kind and speak softly and hold your hand in grief support groups, who are looking for exactly that vulnerability. Let me tell you about my friend Mary Ann. She's 82 now. 4 years ago, she met a man named Douglas at her senior living community. Charming, well-dressed, always had a compliment ready. He moved into her apartment within 6 months, took over her finances to help her manage things. Within a year, she had lost her savings, her apartment, and very nearly her relationship with her children, who had tried to warn her. Douglas disappeared one morning while she was at a doctor's appointment. Just vanished, with everything he could carry. This isn't rare. I want you to understand that. This happens every single day in America to intelligent, educated, capable women who spent their entire lives making good decisions. Elder romance fraud is an epidemic that nobody talks about because the victims are too ashamed to come forward. I know because I was one of them. I didn't tell my children about Harold for almost a year after it ended. The shame was suffocating. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Not all men. Not every relationship. There are good men out there, and love can happen at any age. And you're right, that's technically true. But here's what I've learned in my 79 years on this earth. The risk is no longer worth the reward. When you're 30 and you make a mistake in love, you have time to recover. You have decades ahead of you to rebuild, to learn, to find someone better. When you're 75 and you make a mistake in love, you might not recover. You might spend your final years in poverty because you trusted the wrong person. You might die alone in a nursing home because you gave away the money that was supposed to pay for your care. You might lose your family because they couldn't watch you destroy yourself and had to walk away to protect their own hearts. The mathematics of risk change as we age. That's just the truth. But there's another truth, and this one took me longer to learn. The loneliness I was trying to escape with Harold, it was still there after he left. In fact, it was worse, because now I had loneliness plus betrayal, loneliness plus shame, loneliness plus the knowledge that I had been a fool. What finally healed me wasn't another relationship. It was learning to befriend myself. It sounds like something from a self-help book, I know, but I mean it literally. I started taking myself on dates. I would go to the movies alone and buy myself popcorn. I would sit in my garden with a glass of wine and talk to Robert's memory without feeling pathetic. I would call my grandchildren and really listen to their lives instead of waiting for them to ask about mine. I learned that companionship doesn't require romance. It requires presence. I have friends now, real friends, women my age who understand what it means to be 79 and still alive and still fighting. We play cards on Thursday nights. We watch out for each other. We talk about our husbands, the ones who died and the ones who left, and the ones who were never worthy of us in the first place. We laugh. We cry. We hold each other up. And you know what? I'm not lonely anymore. Not really. I have quiet evenings sometimes, sure. I have moments when I wish Robert was still here to argue about what to watch on television. But I have peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't depend on another person's presence or approval. So here's what I want to tell you. Whether you're 65 or 75 or 85 or watching this at 40 and thinking about your mother or grandmother, guard your independence, guard your finances, guard the life you built with the same ferocity you would use to protect your children. Because there are people who see a lonely older woman not as a person to love, but as a resource to exploit. And the loneliness you feel now is nothing compared to the loneliness of being betrayed by someone you trusted with your heart. You don't need a boyfriend. You need friends. You need community. You need a garden or a book club or a grandchild who calls on Sundays. You need to learn that being alone is not the same as being lonely, and being with someone is not the same as being loved. Robert loved me. For 42 years he loved me truly and completely. And when he died, that love didn't die with him. It lives in our children, It lives in our grandchildren. It lives in the house that still smells like his coffee in the morning, even though I'm the only one who drinks it now. That love is enough. It has to be enough, because chasing more when you already have enough is how you lose everything. I want you to do something for me. Tell me your story in the comments. Tell me about your mother, your grandmother, yourself. Tell me what love has cost you and what peace has given you. I read every single comment, and on quiet evenings they remind me that I'm not alone in this, that my story might matter, that maybe this painful lesson could save someone else from making the same mistake. If this meant something to you, subscribe to this channel. Do it for the woman you'll be in 10 years, in 20 years. Let my voice remind you of what matters before it's too late to remember. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, a mother starting a new relationship, a friend who seems too trusting, a woman who deserves to be protected, share this with her. Share it before someone like Harold finds her. I'm 79 years old. I've lost money and pride and 2 years of my life to a man who never deserved my trust. But I found something he could never take. I found myself, my real self, the woman who doesn't need anyone to complete her because she was complete all along. You are too. You just have to believe it before someone convinces you otherwise.